right. Greetings, Earthlings. It is I, Hot Benjamin, accompanied as always by Flo Jangles and G Dollars. We are the Rap Lizards. Enter our spaceship. You're listening to Do It Yourself Music Appreciation, the show where myself, Ben, my boy Dion, and my boy Gary, each week one of us picks an album, we listen to it, we reconvene, and we discuss it. We appreciate it. It's what we do. We talk about the music we love extensively in a very, very nerdy fashion. We go deep. Welcome. Good to see you guys.
Good to see you. Happy
you too, Benny Boo. You too, D.
Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
How
was your week?
Oh, dude, my week. Well, I'll tell you this. I'm still calibrating. You know, it's totally disconnected from the answer to how was your week a couple of months ago. It's a different week. The structure is different. You know, like the relatability is different. I can't tell you, you know. And you will answer me with, yeah, I know what you're talking about. It's like, you have no idea what I'm talking about. I could be doing some crazy shit over here. Or you could be, you know, but it's, you know, my normal is very strange right now, I would say.
That's a good way to put it. I hated, oh, this is the new normal. That was a weird way to put it. Like, the normal is very weird right now. That's a much better way to put it. D, what's up, brother?
Chilling, man. Chilling. Yeah, had a busy couple of weeks a few weeks ago, so it's nice having a little relaxing going into a holiday weekend. I know we're never supposed to say the year. You always got to keep current, but whatever. We're recording on July 4th. Who cares?
Yes, the fireworks.
Right. We'll keep it extra patriotic today. No. Anytime we have an opportunity to go patriotic, let's go as patriotic as we can.
America.
Whatever that means to you.
All right, so this week, Dion had the pick, and he picked Danny Brown's album Old. Came out what year, D?
That came out
2013.
Yeah, there you go. 2013. It's amazing. It's 7 years ago. I feel like this album just came out like last year.
And I erroneously said that I heard it last week. I said I know the album, and I was mistaken. I think I heard Triple X.
Yeah.
And the Danny Brown album I am most familiar with, and my favorite Danny Brown album is Black and Brown, where Black Milk produced the whole thing, and Black Milk is one of my favorite producers, so I really love that project. D,
before we go on for that, I just forgot for Black Milk, what's he known for? Also, like, wasn't he? Didn't he do something with Sean Price?
Yeah,
back in the day, right?
I mean, I don't know how well known that album is, but somewhere around
it's great.
Yeah, he did an album called Random Acts with Sean Price.
Right.
And I'm blanking on the third rapper's.
Wasn't it Guilty Simpson?
Guilty Simpson.
Guilty Simpson, yeah.
Great rap.
Such a great rap name.
We should do that album one day.
We should.
It's really fun.
Oh, it's up there, yeah. It qualifies. Yeah. It qualifies.
Great album. So D, talk about it, man. What made you pick the album?
Yeah, man. So Danny Brown, you know, another Detroit rapper, similar to last week's Royce album that we did, which is still resonating with me just because of the times we live in. But actually, you know what? Real quick, before we go into that, just wanted to make everyone know, because it's something we didn't mention last week, is that Royce produced that whole album. I know we're talking about Danny Brown. We'll get into that in a second, but I know Ben wanted to just mention that because we'd be remiss to say or to leave out the fact that it was the first time I think Royce actually produced an album. So just more Detroit love for another Detroit rapper.
And he did a great job.
Excellent job.
Production, lyrics, fantastic job.
Yeah. But anyway, so Danny Brown, like I from the time I first heard him, actually the first time I really like gave a listen to him was hearing him spit the first verse of Red to Go on Sway's show back in it must have been around 2013. I think it was around that time the album came out, and I had heard him before, but what's up, Ben?
Do you remember the first time who told us about Danny Brown? And how it was told to us? Me and you, D.
Was it Eric?
Yeah.
It was Eric. It was E-Rock.
Our boy, shout out Eric. What's up, kid?
What up, Eric? I know you're listening.
He's a listener. He came over when me and Dion, Gary, you're going to love this. Me and Dion were roommates for 2 years. He came over to our apartment, and and he was like, he showed us in the same night Pro Era, Joey Badass,
God, yes.
Capital Steez, that song,
summer. Oh my God, summer. It wasn't summertime.
No, it was the one where Capital Steez just beasts.
Yeah, no, it's got the word summer in it. I just forget what the actual title is. But anyway.
Hold up. I wasn't there, so let me recreate the scene so I could feel like I was there. So you guys are chilling at the house. Okay, you got a apartment. You're chilling on the big leg of the couch. You got Dion has the first generation wireless chargers on the armrests. Okay,
yes.
which are everywhere now, but Dion saw the trend early.
Yep.
You got the crazy TV set up in front, and it's a mess. Right?
Mess.
So
wires
this guy Eric comes in, and you invite him, and you think that it's fine that this person's going to come in and just tyrant you with music you never heard before, and it might be good.
Well, I
That's
trusted.
a rare thing.
Eric got me into some real dope shit. Dion, I know I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, please.
This is a very it's leading to a funny part. Hopefully, it's funny. We'll
Mine's
see.
not.
Eric actually is the one who introduced me to Esoteric. Well, I knew of Esoteric. I knew his albums, but he's the one who got me to really pay attention.
Because he's Esoteric, because it has Eric in it. Okay.
Oh, snap!
Oh,
right. Identity uncovered. Done.
Not that funny. Sorry. So anyway. So he comes over, he shows us Pro Era, it was dope. We were showing him some stuff we like. We were talking about Doom, and he goes, "Oh, you know who else I've been listening to? I just discovered him, Danny Brown." And he goes, "He's a silly looking motherfucker, but man, he's really good."
Can I tell you something? So just let the audience in for something. Obviously, we take notes. Like I do. Like we all do extensive notes while we're listening. And literally, my second note I'm looking at it right now is he's a silly looking motherfucker. That literally is. I'm not making this up. That is actually a note for this album. He's a silly looking motherfucker. Sounds like a 10-year-old, but he can spit.
Yo, and he.
Wow.
That's not. Listen. God willing, one day, hopefully, and I don't think it will happen, Danny Brown might hear us talking about him right now. Maybe. We're putting it out there. It's possible. It is not an insult.
Of course it's not an
at
insult.
all. But he has some wild style.
Yeah.
His hair, his fashion, and I think that's where he was going with it. But I remember being particularly high that day and cracking up when he said it.
It was great. And Danny Brown's actually cleaned up a little bit now. His style. He got his teeth fixed. So Danny Brown. That one of the reasons why he looked so out there is not only was his style kind of I wouldn't say ahead of his time. Like he didn't exactly look like like an NBA player going into a game. Like some of these guys look like fucking Prince, but like he wasn't like that out there. But he had like the conch in his hair, so it was like all smooth and but also like kind of crazy. He was missing like his 2 or 3 of his front teeth. Not sure why. I don't think it wasn't like anything bad. Just he just happened to have it. Yeah. But like he rode with that style. Like that's the style he wanted. He wore like the skinny jeans. He had his own kind of like hip hop but non hip hop style.
I'm just I have actually never seen. I've never looked at an image of Danny Brown besides what's on the cover of albums where he's dressed as like a business pirate or something. And just my first reaction is this guy's got his own steez. He's got his own aesthetic.
And that's all,
he's a rock star.
And that's all that. That's really all that Eric meant. Was like he doesn't look like everyone else, but it was like it was like bros cracking jokes, and it was very funny.
Yeah.
At any rate, that was my intro to Danny Brown. It's a story that I often remember when I listen to Danny Brown.
By the way, just real quick, the Pro Era song is Survival Tactics.
Yes.
Summer Nights was another thing that him and Capital C's and Joey Badass did together. That was another song. But Survival Tactics is one of the sickest fucking rap songs I've ever heard. And it was by a couple of 17, 18-year-olds.
Who went to the same high school as us.
Yep, that's right. They both went tomorrow. Rest in peace, Capital C's.
All right.
But Joey Badass is still kicking around, and he actually played Inspector Deck in the Wu-Tang show that just got picked up for a second season.
I'm so psyched about
that. Check that the Hulu Wu-Tang show. But anyway, so that's right. So Eric told us about him, and then I think together we heard that it wasn't a freestyle, but it was a verse that he did on Sway in the Morning.
Sway in the Morning.
Yep. And it turned out that was actually the first verse on the song Red to Go, which is on this album and is one of my favorite Danny Brown songs. And I just remember just being captivated by this dude. It's like he looked silly, but like the shit that he was saying, like even some of the things he was saying was kind of silly, but the way he put it together, it was like, all right, this guy's an MC. This guy's a real MC. He's like, don't let his look fool you. This guy can fucking spit. Yeah.
He's dope. Most of my fondest, not memories, most of the time that I love Danny Brown is on his features, when he's featured on someone else's stuff. Like there's a
Detroit versus everybody. Oh, never mind.
Well, yeah, he killed that.
Yeah, he did. But yeah, sorry, what were you saying? A Ghostface song?
Ghostface released an amazing album, which we're gonna review one day, called appreciate. Sorry, we're gonna appreciate one day. Called Sour Soul.
Yep.
Where it's Ghostface and a live band. They're like a jazz trio. It's incredible. And Danny has a feature on that album, and it's like powerful, impactful, probably the best feature on the album, and like really killed.
By the way, I'm not sure if you noticed, but the last track on this album produced by Bad Bad Not Good, or produced by Frank Dukes of Bad Bad Not Good. The song Float On.
Bad Bad Not Good is the name of the band. Yep. Okay, cool.
Yeah, well, Frank Dukes from Bad Bad Not Good produced the last track on this album.
Anyone named Frank Dukes is okay with me. That's
Frank Dukes, like put up your Dukes.
Like put up your Dukes, right? Bloodsport, man. Classic.
Is that the origin of Frank Dukes? It's got to be.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I think that he. I think it was. So his name has to be Bloodsport related.
All right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
We're watching the same movies growing up.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Sorry, Dion.
Yeah.
You were saying.
Yeah. No, this is
Put up your Dukes,
baby.
Dion.
This is fine. We're putting up our Dukes.
Yeah.
But no, so that's generally like my take on Danny. He's a great artist, great rapper, really entertaining. He's multifaceted too, because as I was starting to get into, his style changed. Now he's more refined. He got his teeth fixed. He cut his hair. He's got more of a haircut. He's got a TV show called Danny's House. It's like a talk show. It's almost like it's semi Eric Andre, like a little bit of that silliness, but a little bit more serious, like a little bit more of a serious talk show. But it also still has that kind of. What's up?
When does it air? On what channel?
Probably should have looked it up. I believe it's Vice actually. But
that makes sense.
Yeah. And it's Vice. It's Vice TV. Cool. And I'm looking at a recent episode. He had LP on. Like he's got
sick.
he's got a good guest. But I saw him live last year. I've probably seen him 2 or 3 times now, and as recently as last year. And same thing. Actually, I was kind of in the back area, right when he passes by, so I got a close up look at him. And yeah, he's like a normal looking dude now. He doesn't have that silliness to his look, but his act, again, if you watch the show, like he still has that kind of like old school Danny Brown. Sort of, I don't want to say act, because it is what it is, but that is kind of what this album is all about too. So we can get into that. The name of the album is called Old, and the title could be interpreted a couple different ways. It could be, he released this album when he was 31 years old, which, similar to professional sports, when you get to about your early 30s or so, that's around you're entering your prime / leaving your prime. So it could mean that this is him getting old. It could also be which I interpret it as like he's talking about the old Danny Brown, who is a little bit different than the quote-unquote new Danny Brown. But it's funny because this album is 7 years old, and I feel like current Danny Brown is more like the old Danny Brown. So he kind of sandwiched himself. There's that that hybrid era, which is what this is, where he got that sort of high-pitched voice. But if you listen to some of his older stuff and some of his more recent stuff, he doesn't really have that high-pitched voice element to his rap.
It's funny, Dion. Again, admittedly, I'm not the biggest Danny Brown head. Meaning, like, I haven't heard most of his albums, and it's not by like choice. I'm not avoiding him. It's just I'm a creature of habit. I stick to the stuff that I know a lot. I didn't realize that he had a deeper, more menacing voice. You thought
that high-pitched voice was his natural voice, right?
I just thought that was the way he rapped, that really high-pitched, wild, percussive, bouncy flow. And then on this album, which I recognize now has old side A is the old side, and side B is, I think you could guess which side I liked more. I don't know what, again, I am not this expert. I'm not an expert, right? I know everything about the stuff I love and know nothing about the stuff I don't love. So like, I don't even know what you call that style of beat, like on side B, right? I know that it exists, and I know that it's like this wild energy in it, and it's a lot of synthesized music, not sample driven.
No, and it's funny. It's funny you mentioned that about the samples, because that's exactly it. The first half of the album, at least each track samples at least one song, typically from about the 70s or so, similar to Tyler actually, which is interesting that the two of them toured together. I think I've seen Danny Brown 3 times, and 2 of those times I saw him while he was on tour with Tyler. So it's no surprise that the two of them sort of have similar styles, but. Yeah, the second half of the album uses pretty much no sampling at all. As you just said, Ben, it's all synth. It's all, just sort of computer generated, and I liked it. I know it wasn't your style, and I do agree with you. But my appreciation for the first half of this album went up greatly after this deep dive.
I loved the first half.
It was great.
I really did. A quick question before we get into the first half. Is the second half, and again, listeners, sorry, I know I'm ignorant, that style of beat, is that a trap beat?
Being a New Yorker, I couldn't tell you exactly what a trap trap's one of those like genres.
It's an elusive term.
Yeah, or at least for New Yorkers, right? Like, I mean, like, I'm all boom bap. Like that's like the beat style I like. That's like the original shit. Trap is, I guess, one of those things that came around in like the late 90s, early 2000s. Learned a little bit more about the origins of it watching Hip Hop Evolution, and after that episode they talked about trap. At that point I was like, oh, that's what trap is. But the problem is that I've since forgot, so I couldn't tell you. Trap is the term that comes into my head though, Ben, when I think of their second album. Whether that's right or wrong, I don't know, but
what I for the listeners, what I equate what I associate with this is like this sonic aesthetic is like really skittish hi-hats, like almost too fast for a human to possibly play, and these noises and like just synthesized like energy, but devoid of natural organic feeling to me, and that's why I don't love music with that style of beat, because it, to me, even sampled music, like when you're sampling something else, you're sampling something else that someone played, and it feels organic even when it's sampled. Sure. Whereas this, it just like it's like, sorry, this is the last negative thing I'm gonna say today, hopefully, but it, like, that style of beat, just to me, it sounds like robots having seizures. Like it does not. It doesn't jive with me. It doesn't. I can't groove to it. There's no groove that I find. So
Gary,
I got something else out of it, actually.
Yeah, I was just about to ask you, Gary.
The synth beats, like, I was listening to some of the choruses, like the chorus to, God, what song was it? It was $25, right? Which is a great song, right? And that chorus is very 2013, but it sounds great. It's like synth, right? It's like, it's something you could dance to. The singing
that was a
really
first
good,
half song, though, Gary. But
okay.
But no, that doesn't get me wrong. I'm just let's talk about it.
I think that's a commonality between like that chorus and a lot of the second half. It was mixed up, right? There was stuff on the second half.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah.
Like
on the first half, you're right, Gary. On the first half, there were several beats that didn't fit with
mixed
that
it up.
Old aesthetic.
Some of that stuff on the second side of the album, in side B, which I love that he kind of named it like a tape deck. There's a song "Smoking and Drinking" that's like, you could almost hear people like making the percussive sounds to it when they're like skipping rope or like playing hand games or something, like smoking and drinking, drinking and smoking. It's like you could almost like clap your hands or stomp your feet along to it in a really simple way, which makes it I don't know, something that something very hip hop. You could flow to it.
You get
if you're
something out of
rhyming,
it.
You do.
Yeah.
It's I'm able to nod my head to it and appreciate it, even though it's whatever. It's not what I usually listen to. This was a bit of an eye opener for me too. I mean, as always, every week, this was an eye opener for me. This thing took me on a bit of a journey.
So Gary, let me ask you, since Ben said he clearly likes the first half more than the second half, what's your take? Like, which half did you like more, if any?
I'm just looking at the list of songs that I really liked, and I'm actually wondering what, because I is it coming from the first part or the second part? It's kind of a mix, right? Yeah. Like,
okay,
let's see. It's a mix. I like songs from
okay.
every side of this. Like, let's say side B, dope song, right? In my list I got a list called dope songs, and my first song is dope song. Right?
Dope song.
Like, it sounded
one of my favorite Danny Brown songs.
But the trumpets and shouting dope song, and that odd kind of grilling sound, like a cheeseburger on a grill in the background. I thought that sounded really good. I like that.
What's cool about dope song? Actually, Ben, I want to get into dope song a little bit, but first, you had a thought?
Well, not really. I'm just like trying to remember the sound of grilling hamburgers. There's a
Benny's Boigas.
Like, yeah. Hey, I'm gonna make some Benny's vegan boigas later. Yeah. Go ahead, D. Sorry, it's all good.
So you mentioned dope song, Gary. First of all, that song is cool because he looks at that obviously as the transition, right, from side A to side B. I actually kind of think the song before that is more of a transition. I will actually get into that as soon as I'm done with this, but I just want to make a point about dope song. But that first part, that musical part of dope song is like beautiful, right? It sounds nice. Like it's got the like the string, like what it's like some kind of string instrument, doing like sort of like an intro album. You know what I feel like? When dope song plays, because it also ends with that musical note too, right? It feels like a fancy red curtain in a theater opening up. Like that's when I hear that intro sound, like it sounds so classical. It feels like a curtain opening up, but then behind the curtain you don't see like elegant people. You see Danny Brown with his crazy ass, like just rapping on some crazy shit, talking about dope song. And it's like, whoa, I thought I thought this was something else. And that's what I think listeners are supposed to be. It's like, I thought I was here for side A, and now you're using the side A's curtain to open up side B. Interesting.
And
I love that. I wish I could wake up to somebody yelling dope song at me like that every day.
My first
awesome day.
Sorry, guy.
My bad, man.
No, it's okay. My first experience in the playthrough of this album, when I heard side B and I heard the opening notes, I was like, oh, all right. Like, all right. Like, I can get down with this. And I was like, ah!
And he fucked you up. He fucked you up.
Yeah.
The other thing about dope song, it made me think. So this, I don't know what you guys think, but this is like not even close. It's one of the most energetic, high energy rap songs I've ever heard. It got me thinking, like, what? Just sidebar a little bit. Like, I have a list right here, and I probably should have given you guys forewarning, but I also kind of want to hear like your raw thoughts. Give me some rap songs that you think are like most energetic. Like, what do you got? I got my list, but I want to hear from you guys.
Give me some more.
Okay.
Bombs Over Baghdad.
Yeah.
I just had one other one. Give me some more. Bombs Over Baghdad. Oh, Protect Your Neck, the jump off from the W.
Okay, yeah.
From the W.
Yeah.
That one's really energetic to me.
Gary,
those are.
Gary, what about you?
Yeah, sure. You're right. Energy. This album exudes energy, especially songs like that. Busta Rhymes songs, a lot of them.
Right?
Woo-ha, I got you all in check. Just like all the Dragon stuff, all the old Dragon stuff. Before he started whispering into the mic, in a hypnotic way, he was bringing the dragon out. What else? A lot of Lil Jon, right? Lil Jon stuff. Even though it's like it's dance music. It has a kinetic energy that is it just brings out a mood. Can't help it. Right?
He's so fun. He's so fun.
Yeah, yeah. All right, those are the two that come to mind right now.
The other one is also is The Next Shit. I don't know if you know that one. Pharoah Monch featuring Busta Rhymes.
No, but those are two of the greatest.
Crazy.
Gonna have to hear that.
Yeah.
For me, it's definitely Busta, specifically Scenarios, just one of the most high energy songs. Annie Up, you play the first 5 seconds of Annie Up, you want to fucking shoot somebody. Like it's.
Love that song.
I got Bombs Over Baghdad, definitely Bombs Over Baghdad. Slam by Onyx.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Dreams and Nightmares by Meek Mill. I don't know if you ever heard that, but the second half of that song is, I mean, like you want to pump yourself up. You listen to Dreams and Nightmare by Meek Mill. That shit is dope. Nuck If You Buck by Crime Mob.
Yeah.
You know that shit? Yo.
That's right.
Yo. Pretty much anything from DMX. And as much as I hate this motherfucker, Tekashi 6ix9ine has a song called Billy. That it's short, it's stupid, but like again, similar to like Annie Up of these songs. Like I'm not saying it's as good, not even close, but like, in terms of the energy level, like you want to like pump yourself up or something, like listen to Billy for just 2 minutes. That being said, fuck Tekashi.
You know what? I'm gonna add one. Almost a lot of songs by Rick Ross. Rick Ross, I don't know what it is. He has a very calm and measured way of rapping, but something about the music that he puts together with his voice. The beats, and he's got a really strong voice. That gets me amped for some reason.
But on that note, on this exact note, right? Energy. I think that is a word you have to use to describe Danny Brown's approach, right? Like, you can't go into, like, when someone says, I never heard of him, describe him to me. One of the words you're going to have to use is high energy. And even on, like, the guest appearances that I alluded to before, whenever he comes in, he's impactful.
Yeah, right away.
You know what I mean? And he changes the mood of the artist's song that you're listening to. That's why I think he's so good as a feature, especially with his high pitch. See, Dion, I did not know, because I'm not that familiar with Danny Brown, that he had that lower pitch.
Yeah, you had no idea. Like, you almost thought you listened to a wrong album, right? When you first started listening to
this?
I
was like, is this? Yeah. Because that's not the Danny Brown I'm familiar with. You know what I mean? It's like very low. I didn't know that he rapped like that.
I mean, his natural speaking voice is a little bit in between. Obviously, I think it is a little bit more in the high pitch end, but not nearly as high pitch as like his rapping. Like I would say his natural voice is probably somewhere in the middle. I don't know if you guys ever saw any interviews or docs or anything with Danny Brown, but
he did an episode of Hot Ones, I think.
Oh yeah, I think he did. I
gotta go back
by the way, the Hot Ones is back, I believe. I think they're doing Home Hot with Brie Larson. Just did one. I gotta check that one out.
And he did it with the comedians Bert Kirschner. Is that his name?
Oh, but yeah.
Kreischer?
I forget the exact. But I know he's the guy with the beard.
Sorry, guys.
The guy with the beard.
Yeah. The one who does stand up with his shirt off and talks about when he spent the summer with the Russian mob.
Yeah, that shit.
Yeah. Search Bert the Machine. You'll love it.
All right.
So, what was I gonna say?
High energy.
Yes. So, the balance of old Danny Brown voice and new Danny Brown voice, or like gangster, for lack of a better term, Danny Brown voice, and then wild party Danny Brown voice. I didn't know about it, and it took me 2 listens to acclimate to the fact that he's gonna do both those things on one album.
Right.
So like, that was one of the things that I didn't love, is that it didn't feel. Remember, we were talking about the importance of continuity when listening to an album like that. This one does not feel like a smooth listen the whole way through. It's very long.
It is long.
And there's a lot of contrasting sonic aesthetics, and so that was hard for me to get into. But once I got into it and became familiar with the songs on side A really spoke to me. He spoke about, his lyrical content was deeper than I thought it would be.
Absolutely.
A lot about dealing drugs and a lot about substance abuse and substance dependency. And I think that's a very interesting paradox. Normally, right, I know some rappers have spoken about both, but normally you're either selling the drugs or you're talking about your past doing the drugs. This one is like, he's talking about both, and he's talking about what he saw.
Yeah.
Like, Torture.
So yeah,
was crazy.
Let's talk about that for a second, actually, because Torture is one of the best songs on the album.
Yeah, heavy.
It's a dark beat, really dark beat, haunting vocals on that like semi loop. It almost sounds like Gregorian chants, and it just feels kind of.
That's the one where he's talking about when, like, the first line is he's talking about a fiend that had to owe a drug dealer money. Is that the one
the fiend was outside his door, right?
Well, he's talking about the drug dealer made them put peanut butter on their private parts.
And
have the pit bull lick it off.
I know. Which
Sorry
song
to laugh. It's not funny.
I know which song you're talking about. I don't. Oh yes, yeah. Sorry. Yes, it is.
That is some heavy. He goes. I mean, if he's telling the truth, that is heavy as fuck that he saw that. I don't know if it's the truth.
Well, here's the thing, and that's the thing about the song that I love is like whether or not that was something horribly seen or not. The point is like there's horrible shit being seen in the hood every single day, and like people don't look at it as torture, but like this is some PTSD shit. I mean, like this is some traumatizing shit that people have to. I mean, not saying that it's like the same exact thing as like war-torn nations, but some of these. I mean, parts of Detroit a few decades ago, the Bronx in the 70s, that shit did look like war-torn area. Like that was crumbling buildings. That was bad. Like, and so people have to live in this environment, and you don't really think about it. It's like there's a couple lines in here. Look in my mind and see the horrors. All the shit I've seen, nigga, is torture. It's like it's not that he's physically being tortured, being waterboarded or whatever. But like having to see that and experience that every single day, can lead to some mental stress later on.
My mind went to the track. Obviously the torture track on 36 Chambers, but it's nothing like that. This shit wasn't funny.
Yeah.
Right?
That was a skit. This is like
Look in my mind.
Shit.
But same thing. Same thing. I went the same way too. Every time I think of this song, I immediately go to Torture Wu-Tang. But like you said, it's like I wonder what a mashup.
Look in my mind and see the horror is that's a serious thing he's talking about.
Yeah. There's another set of bars from this that I thought was really powerful. I feel like a prisoner of war reacting sporadically to what the mind absorbed. Probably need to shrink. Can't get a wink, so I smoke a lot of kush and pop a Xanax to sleep. Like, I mean, it's. On the surface, it's like, yeah, okay, how many people like just like take Xanax recreationally or smoke weed recreationally? Of course, I do. So it's not that bad. But like when you see like he's doing these things to cope with the shit that he has to deal with and see every day, kind of takes a different meaning and a different turn, right? Like kind of a darker turn.
Yeah, it was surprising. It was actually like it was a little off-putting to me at first. I had to acclimate to this album. He talks about this character. I don't know if his life really reflects this or not, but like. This character, this dude was on some drugs. This dude was on all the drugs. It was I don't know. It's quite it's not a sustainable lifestyle. It's a lifestyle that could go sideways real fast. Was the impression I got. And that first side A had a lot of storytelling on that theme.
A lot. I think one of my favorites is Wonder Bread. Which is that was what. So Ben, when you started asking me about those first few lines, that Wonder Bread is a song that starts off with like him going outside and the dope fiends right outside as and the whole point is like all he's trying to do is just go to the store and get some bread for his mom, and he has to see like I feel like Wonder Bread and Torture are like sort of two songs that go hand in hand. Like I almost feel like they probably should have been next to each other. But yeah, it's like taking that thing that's like supposed to be the normal thing, but like nothing's normal about your journey to get it or come back.
Totally.
I mean, I don't know if I have a point there. It's just, it's also kind of, and I'm sure this was on purpose, but like, I'm sure he's supposed to be like his like kid character, and you did kind of feel like this was a kid talking, especially with like the sort of sing-songy way he's going. It's like went to the front to get Wonder Bread. Yeah, I got Wonder Bread. Like it was kind of like almost like sing-songy, but I liked it. And then it kind of ends with that. Like, I mean, it's a very dark comedy line, but like the end where he goes, what was the last line? Fiends running through alleys. I kept moving, but nobody looked at me. Of course, some niggas stomped on my head, all because they wanted the bread. Like it's like kind of like it's funny, but it's not. Like, but what he's saying is like, yeah, at the end of the day, like, yeah, I'm a kid, or yeah, I'm just getting food, but these fiends don't care. All they want is my money. All they want is my bread. So they kicked the shit out of me and took my money. So
it's heavy. Even like the songs, like so that song, if you just heard the sounds and not the words. It sounds like a fun romp.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? And then the lyrics are a completely different story, which there's a lot of that juxtaposition on this album. There's a jarring nature to the album. But on, so in side one, songs I loved The Return featuring Freddie Gibbs.
Oh my God, yeah.
I thought Gibbs' verse on that was
holy shit,
dope.
Can we talk about him for a second? Oh no, go on.
Yeah. I'm looking now. Apparently, Andre 3000 has writing credit on that song.
Oh wow.
I don't know. There's a lot of names on that.
Oh no, you know why? No. There's a reason why. Because this song is supposed to be like a follow up to the Outkast song "Return of the G" from Equipment.
Okay.
So that I think that's why they gave like Andre 3000 writing credit. I don't know if he had anything to actually do with this particular song. Maybe he did. Maybe he did.
Okay.
But this is supposed to be like a sequel, like their own like sort of homage like sequel to Outkast.
What were you gonna say, D?
Oh, just Freddie Gibbs. I still don't know a ton about him, despite I have a small record collection. Just for the audience, like about 2-3 years ago, someone in my building was throwing out an old record player. The only thing wrong with it was that the hinges on the cover were broken. Big deal. It still worked. So since then, I've got gathered. I probably had like 15 records, not much, but one of them is this band. This album by Freddie Gibbs and oh my God, and Madlib called Bandana. It's sick. I actually just listened to it this morning.
I heard that's great.
Great.
I haven't listened to it yet, but I heard it's really good.
So good. I mean, Madlib, the beats are incredible. Black Dot's on it. Killer Mike's on it. Like it's got some good features. The album art is incredible too. It's like it's hard to explain, but you'll
it must be cool to have as a record, right? The big album art on the LP. That's pretty awesome.
That's part of the reason why I got into it. But give it a listen if you haven't. It's on Spotify too. With Freddie Gibbs though, like he, at least in this song, he doesn't have any like blow my mind lyrics or bars, but just his delivery, and it's just like pleasant to hear. Like he's good. Like his flow is great. He doesn't waste negative space. It's just something that we've talked about before in about other albums, but I've noticed that with his, like, he only spits what, like 10-12 bars in this, but like you feel like you got your money's worth listening to his verse, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah, certainly. Of course it does.
But yeah, so that's Freddie Gibbs. None of us.
Yeah.
None of us know that much about Freddie, but at some point I think Bandana might be an album that we want to do. But cool. Ben, you were trying to say something?
Well, just like what I know of Freddie Gibbs is that he did a song. I don't know if they purposefully collaborated, but DJ Muggs released like an MF Doom single. There's like two different. There's one song with MF Doom and Cool G Rap, which is incredible. And then the other one is MF Doom and Freddie Gibbs. And I just Googled it, and I realized that there's apparently some controversies that Freddie Gibbs said he was better than MF Doom, and now I don't like him that much anymore. Just kidding. Yeah. But anyway, but the song was great. Really great. I thought Freddie Gibbs killed it. The song Gremlins. Yeah. I really like that song. My favorite song, I don't know if this will surprise you, is Lonely. That beat
doesn't surprise me.
That beat is crazy.
It's what I actually put that down. It's one of the more interesting ones on the album, especially with that middle part that cuts out and then you think it's done and it comes back in. And he does that twice in this album. We'll get to the other song in a bit, but yeah.
I didn't look up the samples, but some of those samples sound familiar, and some of it sounds almost like a very affected but not distorted clean guitar that you would like almost hear like with chorus or something on that you would hear on like Paul Simon's Graceland. Something, it's like a crazy song.
The sample is the main sample is actually from a French singer-songwriter. The song was made in 1980, but the main sample are not only the guitar and like the music, but also like those like vocals in the background and the intro where it's like talking like the person talking in French. So that's all from this song. This guy Maurice Benin.
That song's awesome.
Still alive, looks like. Born 1947, French singer. So yeah, so that's where that vibe comes from. But I'm not surprised at all. I know you said like this might sound surprising. Not at all. I'm not surprised at all. And
it's weird.
It's weird, right?
But it's organic. You know what I mean? So like I don't care if something sounds not like I like original sounding music, but like where my taste stays in hip hop is just like 4/4 drum beat. You know what I mean? Just like the skittish like that stuff. Like I don't. Yeah, and that's all music, right? Like, so, like, I always gravitate towards, like, most of the time, 70s funk, 70s rock and roll, 60s funk, 60s rock and roll, because it's just this groove to it. There's an accessible rhythm that I feel comfortable and, like, can sink into.
Right.
So, like, that song "Lonely" had it, and it was dope. And side one had those moments where I'm like, man, this shit is fire. And his bars are, they were deeper than I thought they would be. And one thing I knew about him already is he's just got one of the sickest deliveries. You know what I mean? Like, just knows how to deliver. And his cadence is just spot on and unique as fuck. And again, I said it last week, but if you are... Oh, no, I said it 2 weeks ago for Tyler. If you come into this game and find success while being unique in your rap deliveries in this day and age, then I applaud you. Because it is more and more common to just borrow other people's flows and cadences, and I can't even, I get lost in that, So
you know what's funny? I fully agree with you that, yeah, of course, like the lyrical, like, beastness for him is all in side A. But I think so. Another thing that I brought up every episode, every album has that one rap song. I think you may disagree with me on this one. I think on this track, that one rap song is actually "Red to Go," which actually, you know what, "Red to Go" is first half. "Red to Go" is technically first half. And again, it was
that had some of my favorite lines too, man. I love that song.
Yeah, exactly. I got a couple right here, like the been nice since the cassette tapes. Stay smoking heavy. Popped a couple pills. Eyes glowing like Belle. Used to stash the cracks in the seam of my Pele. Detroit nigga, but I'm smoking on LA. Like, yo, and then the eyes glowing. Like, I watched Belly earlier this week because, like, I was like listening to this album. I was like, oh shit, that's right, the eyes glowing. I watched
the red eyes.
It wasn't the red eyes. It was the beginning. It was like they were like glowing. They were blue and the eyes were green.
Eyes.
Yeah. It was when they were about to make the club hot at the beginning.
Oh, yo, dude, now I gotta watch Belly. I was gonna watch Hamilton, but now
so
I gotta watch Belly tonight.
I love Belly. I love Belly.
Gary, tell your wife that you're gonna watch Hamilton and then put Belly on.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, right. Because but she has seen Hamilton. She knows that Hamilton is not Belly.
But she don't know what she's about to get.
Yeah, right. Pretty sure with Sarah, I've watched Belly before.
Steady, are you ready?
Let's go.
Oh my God. However do you want it? However do you need me?
I'm telling you, man.
So eat some shit that didn't match, like corned beef hash and fucking Apple Jacks. I really like that. Dion, overall, like, so every week we're choosing an album for the following week, and it's not at random, right? Like with you, Dion, like, especially like you've had a radio show in college, like, you've listened to, the source where the samples come from for music that we're hearing now. So you know a lot of music. What is it that stood out to you for this album that changed your perspective or made you reflect? Like, why did you select this album?
That's a really good question. Part of it is actually, funny enough, the second half, because I love the second half so much because it was just like, it combined that sort of like new wave synth sort of SoundCloud rapper type beats, which I generally don't like, but I think they did the producers of this. Actually, that's one thing I did not really look up, is the production and who produced most of this album. I actually kind of failed on that, but maybe you could circle back to that by the end. But
you never failed, Dion. You are the champion MVP of this show.
Championship. Yeah, it's that second half is great. Like, again, like, some of my favorite Danny Brown songs come from that second half, and part of me. Funny you asked. Part of the reason I picked it is because I wanted to sort of almost force myself to really give the full album a listen. Because, again, like, usually, admittedly, a lot of times when I listen to this album, I would just put on the second half. I would start with with "Red to Go" and just go, because, like, it's not. Because it's not when I'm trying to sit down and listen to the album. It's when I want to just hear a few Danny Brown songs. I just know it's like, there's a few songs in a row on the second half where it's like, I just want to get into Danny Brown, pump me up, whatever. So
you surprised me with that, man.
Yeah. But
that's not the old Danny Brown. This is a special.
I know.
Time
it's weird.
Danny Brown.
I think it's because he's so sort of different, but similar, but different than the typical rap artist. So I know that does sound surprising, Ben, and that's why after doing this full listen this week, why I'm coming back and circling back to now appreciating the first half. The first, I mean, it's no doubt the first half is a better half of just music, like in terms of like pure rap, pure hip hop. It's definitely better. I mean, I agree with that. But again, like a lot of
you're while we joke about it a lot, and when we disagree, one of us usually goes, "Your opinion is wrong." I mean, the truth is, like, if you vibe with the second half, that's the better half to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it doesn't matter.
But now,
even though you're wrong.
But yeah, no, I just I vibed the second half, but now I think I'm glad I picked it because now I can appreciate it more fully as a hip hop album.
Gary, can I ask you? Sorry, what was your week like listening to this, and how, I know you said acclimate, like I said you had, I had to acclimate. Can you talk about your experience with this album?
Yeah. I felt like at first it was traumatic listening to it because the subject matter is rough. Mm-hmm. And I hated how it sounded at first, right? Like the flow was something I had to get used to that I don't usually listen to, even though it's a good flow. Mm-hmm. And it's like you could totally nod your head to it, and you could. Anyway, it took by the end of the week, I was loving it, and I was enjoying the energy, and I was actually understanding what he was going for, right? He was kind of presenting a dichotomy of personality here, and just opposing views within the same person. Like that was interesting. I got that, but at first I'm like, I hate how this sounds. The flow is like blah 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 bread, blah 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 head. I'm like Dion, what do you like about this? But then, I'm like, this flow is old. Yeah. It gets old real fast. Capital O, at first. But
isn't that interesting, Gary?
It's
interesting.
That's how it is for me, man. It's like you got to acclimate it first, especially me. I have a closed mind, I have a closed mind at first. It opens up gradually, slowly.
But that experience, right there, that says something to me. Because I had the same experience, right? That when, like, if you dismiss something, let's just keep it to music. This could go for anything, but if you dismiss a piece of music based on your first experience with it, you might be shortchanging yourself in the long run.
Almost certainly.
And there's something so interesting about us as humans that we just hear something, and if it's not instantaneously vibey to us, if we can't vibe with it right away, chances are we're not going to go back to it and try again.
It's first impressions. It's first impressions.
And this show has disciplined me in a way where I have to pay attention repeatedly, and every single time. Like for instance, right, weeks ago we did a Kanye West album. I'm still not a Kanye West fan, but man, did I fucking appreciate that album for what it was and what it accomplished by the end of my listen, where I would have probably, if Dion and I were chilling, I would have been pissed off at him if he put on Kanye West, because he knows me better than that. You know what I mean? And like, that's some fucked up shit on my end that I'm like so picky.
But at the same time, though, that reaction is exactly, like, literally exactly what I wanted and what I was expecting from you with that Kanye album specifically. I knew this is exactly what was going to happen. I knew you weren't going to become a Kanye fan, but all I knew was like, look, all you got to do is just give it a listen. You will like at least some elements of this album, and I think you liked it even more than I thought, which is crazy.
Yeah, it started to inspire me again. I haven't listened to it since, and I probably won't. Yeah, but like there was moments of inspiration, and the same thing happened to me with this album. First listen, like Gary said, I was like, I don't know, man. This ain't the thing, man.
This ain't the thing, man.
Shout out JB Smooth. But I was like, all right, I got through it. Let me put it on again. I know we got to talk about it. All right, okay, this is all right. This first half's really dope, and then by like the third or fourth listen, I was into the first half. And again, I didn't like the second half, but I was really into the first half, and I was impressed by the scope of his lyricism and by the personal and darker direction than he usually goes. It was like really, really cool, and just that experience again that I say to all listeners: don't dismiss something right away. Give it a chance. Let it breathe.
Totally. I'm really glad I got past that phase, because there's stuff in here that really made me think, and that I think is some of the best lyricism and cleverness I've seen anywhere, right? Like, when he's talking about, so on one hand, it's like, I'm listening to like Dope Fiend Rental, and the chorus is like open wide ho over and over again. I'm like, wow, this guy, chivalry is dead with Danny Brown. I don't know how much of this I could really deal with. And like, it's, yeah, like, but it's it gets very clever, and it gets introspective and interesting. And he, let's say in Clean Up, he's saying, I ain't slept for 4 days and I'm smelling like seaweed, right? He's talking about how he doesn't want his daughter to see him after being on like a long binge and like just being a wreck and like not being together. That's, man, like,
great
first
song.
Of all, interesting, I guess relatable. We've all been in a place where we're like just absolutely not our best selves after a week of just not following our own, principles and morals.
Yep.
Totally. Exactly. So like relatable. And also the way he put that is so smart. Like my favorite ways to describe things, my favorite metaphors are the ones that don't get too specific, right? It's just broad enough. Yeah, it's like it brings up seaweed, you bring up the image of seaweed like kelp, you bring up the smell of like ocean and like wet dog, and he could go into all of that, but he just left it at that and lets your imagination do the rest. That's really cool.
Yeah, man. Yeah. I that line jumped out at me from first listen to Gary. And that song resonated with me. It's not my favorite song on the album, but the experience of, or like the narrative of it being like, man, I can't live like this anymore. Got to clean up. It's an experience I had, and I won't get into it, but I related, and like watching my family look at me a certain way was one of the biggest motivators for me to make changes in my life. So it was powerful. Really powerful.
That song, there's 3 songs in a row that are very introspective. Basically the 3 songs that right before Red to Go that end side A, from Torture, Lonely, and Cleanup, which at this point we now at least touched on each of them. I as I said, Ben, like I wasn't surprised that Lonely was you said Lonely is your favorite on the show? Yeah. So I wasn't surprised by that, and I wouldn't be surprised if of those 3 were your top 3 because of how introspective they were. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Like Clean Up, he's self-deprecating again, like Gary said, bringing up the stuff with his daughter. Like that's really like it's exposing himself in a way that a lot of rappers wouldn't do. He's got a line later on. He goes, that's why I feel bad popping Givenchy tags, knowing that this tea could feed my nephew for a week. For material, I'm weak, acting like I don't care. I spend it all in clothes, then something's wrong here, or something's wrong there. Basically, that's basically saying, it's like, look, like I'm successful now, like I'm getting my money, I can spend my money, but like I feel like a piece of shit because my cousins and my family who are still living in poverty in Detroit, like I could be helping them, like, and no one's saying that that people are expecting you, like, I mean that's a thing in hip hop, right, where it's like you make it, we all make it, and to an extent that's like that is cool. It's like, yo, that's rallying behind, that's taking care of your people, but then there's also people that take advantage of that. Not saying
there's a narrative there, D, that is, like you said, rare in hip hop. That I want to like. So the act of self-serving, which is or being self-centered, meaning like just like get doing get what you want, take what you want, and not being selfless, trying to pick people up or provide. That doesn't get talked about much in hip hop. Like that self-serving is a bad thing. That self-serving can actually lead to suffering in the long run, and make alienate you from the rest of the world. It's a lesson I've learned.
And it's relatable. It's relatable for all of us to an extent, right? Like once we get past the basic, necessities of life where we're relatively comfortable, then you are forced to occasionally reflect on the fact that what do you, now that you're okay, what are you doing to make other people okay? And it's never, at some point we all cut it off. I don't know about you guys, but I'll occasionally see I'm riding the subway. I see somebody who's, in a bad situation. Somebody who's been homeless probably for like 2 months with like swollen ankles and stuff. And it's like, what am I doing to help this person? No, I'm going to get to work. And
you're not alone, man. I mean, it's not,
clearly I'm not. That's a problem, right? That's almost a universal problem. Yeah. But I think Danny Brown's speaking to that a little bit with something a little bit closer to home.
Yeah, dope, so dope. I know we didn't spend I knew this was gonna happen. I don't have much to say about side 2, but if you do, by all means, I want to hear it. What jumped out at you, what beats you loved, how it affected you. Like, please, the mic is yours.
We started to get into it. They get the beats, like the dope song beat is it'll be in between like the curtains, like I said. It's just like it kicks. Like that's the sort of word that I keep coming up with the beats in the second half is like the shit just kicks. Like you want like. Again, having seen them multiple times, like those are always the songs that come on where everyone gets fucking hype. Sometimes it's mosh pits during these songs. Dope song, dubstep, dip. By the way, remember what dip samples from? Remember that song, The Dip?
Yes,
by I wanted. Nasty?
When I dip, you dip, we dip. I put my hand up on your hip.
Yo, by the way, if you haven't seen the video for that recently,
I have not.
Go do yourself a favor. That is the most 90s video you will ever see. It's got the shitty CG. It's got the shitty background. It almost looks like a video that was made for the 90s, made in the 80s, but you still know that it's a 90s video. Like, you have to see this video. It's so good.
Yo, I forgot all about that song until this album came on, man. What a snapshot of like a moment in time.
Anyway. But then with this, like, he ain't talking about the dance though. He's talking about Molly the whole time.
Yes, of course.
He literally says MDMA. Like, what rapper actually says the words MDMA? That's part of the song. It's great. It's great.
Somebody who takes their chemistry serious.
That's true. That's fair.
And to the listeners wondering what the dip is, it's the powder version of Molly. You lick your pinky, dip it in, put it under your tongue. And it's an experience that I've seen many times.
You don't swirl it in somebody else's ear after you lick it. No, that's a different dip.
At least that's the dip I've had experience with at fish shows.
Yeah, I've seen it too. Let's move on. So we gotta. But no, like it's. The beats and the second half, I just vibe with it. I just can't. I know that it's not traditionally great hip hop like we've been saying. It's it's more. It almost more categorizes with like a Lil Jon style more so like. If Lil Jon's on one end and Nas is on the other end, second half is much more towards Lil Jon.
Yes.
First half
totally.
is much more towards Nas. That's kind of the way.
They really are the
both
polar
are
opposites
enjoyable.
of each other.
Yeah.
Both are enjoyable, but for me, it's got to be a different scenario in which I'm enjoying it. I'm not going to be like chilling, sipping a glass of scotch with my headphones on, listening to this. I'll be if I'm really enjoying side B, I'm like throwing the glass of scotch against the wall and jumping up and down.
Yeah, man, for sure.
Another one of my favorite songs in this is Kush Coma. I think the beat and the delivery of that is great, and it's also in GTA 5, by the way. You might remember that or recognize it from that. But
I found the beat,
that did sound familiar.
The beat for Kush Coma, as I think the three of us have all experienced a Kush Coma. The beat sounds like the exact opposite of a Kush Coma.
Right.
It sounded like a crack, fucking like not crack, but like an upper experience if we're talking drug abuse right now. Whereas like a Kush Coma is like a slow John Coltrane song to me.
See, it's funny. I do agree with that, but I think what the song does. And a few other songs do this in second half. That was the thing I was going to say earlier about all not all the second half songs, but a bunch of them where within the verse they build up. Like the lyrics and more importantly the beat, the drums kind of build up where like the last 4 bars doubles the amount of drum until it like crescendos into the chorus. This one, like, so the other songs that do that, and specifically the dip does this too. But the chorus for that, like it that's the explosion. Like, that's what you're building up towards. Whereas in Kush Coma, they do that build up, but then the chorus is kind of eerie. And I feel like that's where the Kush Coma is. I feel like the build up is like it's like, oh my god, this is intense. Like I'm getting there. Like, oh my god, I'm stoned as shit. And then but then when you get that couch lock, that's the chorus, and it also kind of resets the song too for the next verse. Next time you listen to.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
You just call it a couch lock?
Yeah, that's the best description. Couch lock. I mean, we used to. Yeah, there was couch lock, and then there was schoolgirl. Schoolgirl is when you can't stop laughing. Oh, boy.
But that was kind of like I see what you mean, Ben. Like how it's not. It is the opposite of a Kush Coma, like the chorus. Sorry, the verses. But I think once the verse comes.
Yeah, we were talking about the Tyler the Creator album, Igor, how like the music reflected the emotion in the lyrics, and this is like wild shit talking about couch lock.
Yep, yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
What else we got to say? Real quick, going back to Cleanup. Did you notice what the drum sample was?
No.
By the way, Gary, did you?
Hit me with
It's from a song called "The Hand Clapping Song" by the Meters. Now, this song was also sampled in two. I know that song. Yeah, you know it, and you probably know.
I'm a big Meters fan. Yeah,
I knew that, which is why. Yeah, so that's why I was asking if you knew what it was. There's a song on the Black Eyed Peas album, Behind the Front, which we were talking about before. We are gonna have that as an album coming up because that album is just incredible. There's a song called "Clap Your Hands" to that, which directly uses that, but also Tribe uses it.
Clap your hand now.
Yeah, clap your hand, and that backing beat is because all the drums is the people clapping. It's like,
wow,
right?
I didn't put that
that's
together.
What makes that you could peel off all of the layers of synth in these songs, and I think you still have that in almost every song.
Even on side B, you think that?
Yeah.
Wow.
You could. Well, in the songs I'm thinking about, and for me, it wasn't so uniform, right? It was like he mixed it up a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, if you peel it back, it sounds like something you might walk past. People doing almost a cappella using their feet and hands.
Well, I definitely felt that on the first half. Didn't feel it so much on the second half, but shout out to anyone who samples the Meters. Gary, have you heard the Meters?
No. Only in their samples.
Oh man, go listen to any of their albums.
Listen to the Hand Clapping song. It's great.
Yeah, and Rejuvenation. That's the shit. Like seriously, I hope you listen to Rejuvenation by the Meters. Right. Yeah, it's really good. I think we nailed a lot. D, did we leave anything out here?
No, not really. I mean, this is the complete album. Here's the thing about this album. The first half obviously it's got its deep, lyrics and themes and everything like that. But the second half is a lot more party. So yeah, this is not a knock on the album, but it's not as dense as some of the other albums that we reviewed so far. Certainly not as dense as his fellow Detroiter Royce in last year's episode with the Allegory. But yeah, like you said, I think it's dense in its own right, and I think we covered a lot of the themes. I mean, it's a great album. The last track, Float On, which I believe I mentioned, was produced by Frank Dukes of Bad Bad Not Good. It was a nice wrap up. A really nice wrap up to the song. If you notice, that the vibe of Float On was very much first halfy, very much side A-ish, not so much side B.
Totally.
I think part of the go ahead.
That's what I mean by he mixed it up.
Yeah.
Agreed, right? That was another thing that kind of threw me off. Is once I came to understand that side A is supposed to be akin to sampled boom bap, and side B is supposed to be this newer sound. The fact that some of the newer sound ended up in side A and some of the older sound ended up in side B was also just another thing that I had to acclimate to.
Sure.
My final thoughts on this are, man, I thoroughly enjoyed the first half of this album, with a few exceptions. The songs that again were the newer ones. Again, listeners, I sometimes I hear myself talk and I go, man, you're such a snob. You know what I mean? I know it. I know that
It's okay, man. We think so too.
Yeah, I know you do. It's okay.
About you.
But I've come to accept it, and what it comes down to is it's not like oh, my opinion is so much better than yours. My reaction to sound is very extreme. So like when it's good, it like I feel energized and like inspired and ready to go. And when I don't jive with the sound, I literally suffer. And this is not something I can help. So I apologize to anyone who loves side B, but like I that's just me. So
sure.
I also, just to wrap it up, I said in the beginning, this is the last negative thing I'll say, and then I kept saying negative things, so I did not keep my word.
See, that's why I never say that.
Yeah. Sorry about that. Gary, you want to take us out and hit us with your next pick?
Yeah, man, I dig this album. But I got exhausted, early on hearing about the heavy drug use and people putting vinegar on their assholes. But I did really like the beats, right? I liked how you could get down to the core of these beats. And as I was listening to it, when I did get exhausted, I took a break by looking at what else is on Spotify from Danny Brown, and he's got this album on there called. It's an instrumentals album, just the instrumentals for Hot Soup instrumentals, and it's excellent. In fact, I love that, and I don't know, it just got me in an instrumental mindset. I was really vibing to that for a little bit. For next week, When Disaster Strikes. When Disaster Strikes is the pick for next week. It's an obvious one, but then I thought, if we're not talking about When Disaster Strikes, in Busta Rhymes' words. What the fuck are we doing now? What are we doing over here? When disaster strikes, you will all feel. When disaster strikes, you will all see. When disaster strikes, you will all bear witness.
Oh my God, I can't. It's gonna be another fun week, man.
I'm really excited to listen to that again.
The album that I really think had brought us together as friends. So this is going to be dope. Thank you so much for that pick, Gary. And Dion, thank you for that pick that opened my eyes, opened Gary's eyes. Had a really good experience with it, man. We grew this week. I want to thank the listeners. You've been tuning in to Do It Yourself Music Appreciation. Go listen to one of the greatest albums of all time, When Disaster Strikes by Bust A. Rhymes. Another one of them flip mode joints. His real name is Busta Rhymes, by the way. You knew that.
Of course.
Anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next week and talk about When Disaster Strikes. Peace. The Rap Lizards would like to thank our man Red Walrus for providing the beats and interlude music. Thank you so much, Fred. Support his music. You could find him on Bandcamp. You could download his albums. Great artist.